Dr. Marcus Chen had seen many strange things during his 15 years as a trauma surgeon at New Geneva Medical Center, but nothing had prepared him for what crashed through the emergency room doors at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday night. The security guards carried what looked like a woman, but Marcus knew immediately she wasn't human. Her skin held a pale blue tint that shifted to silver under the harsh hospital lights. Her hair, if it could be called that, moved like liquid mercury, despite there being no wind. Most striking were her eyes, large violet orbs that seemed to contain galaxies within them. "Found her outside the building," Officer Rodriguez explained, breathing heavily. "She just appeared. 1 second nothing, next second she was there, bleeding all over the sidewalk." Marcus snapped on his gloves, his training kicking in despite the impossibility of the situation. The alien woman was unconscious, her breathing shallow and rapid. Dark purple blood seeped through what appeared to be some kind of metallic fabric that had been torn open across her abdomen. "Get her to Trauma Bay 3, Marcus ordered the nurses. "And someone call Dr. Patel. We're going to need—" "Doctor?" Nurse Sarah interrupted, checking the monitors they'd just connected. "Her vitals are strange. Heart rate is 3 times normal human, but the rhythm is different. And her blood pressure—" "I can see that," Marcus said, studying the readouts. Nothing made sense. The alien's physiology was completely foreign, yet somehow her injuries looked familiar. 3 deep puncture wounds across her stomach, the kind made by claws or blades. Dr. Patel arrived within minutes, took one look at the patient, and stopped dead. "Marcus, what in God's name—" "I don't know," Marcus admitted. "But she's dying. Look at the blood loss." They worked quickly, cutting away the strange fabric to expose the wounds. The alien's skin felt warm, almost fevered, and had a texture unlike anything Marcus had encountered. It was smooth, like human skin, but seemed to pulse with an inner light. "The wounds are deep," Dr. Patel observed. "Whatever did this missed vital organs by millimeters. But Marcus, we don't know anything about her anatomy. We could kill her trying to help." Marcus studied the alien woman's face. Even unconscious and injured, there was something noble about her features, something that reminded him why he'd become a doctor in the first place: to save lives, regardless of who or what needed saving. "Her blood," Sarah said suddenly. "Look at her blood." The purple blood on the gauze was changing color, becoming clearer as they watched. "It's losing something," Marcus realized. "Like it's separating." Dr. Patel ran a quick test. "The cellular structure is breaking down rapidly. She's going into shock, but not like any shock we understand." Marcus made a decision that would change his life forever. "Start an IV. We need to replace the blood volume." "With what?" Dr. Patel asked. "We don't have alien blood in storage." Marcus looked at his own hands, then at the dying woman on the table. "Use mine." "Marcus, no. We don't know if human blood is compatible, if it's toxic to her species, if—" "She's dying now," Marcus interrupted. "At least this gives her a chance." The next hour was the longest of Marcus's life. They prepped him quickly, drawing blood while simultaneously preparing the alien woman for transfusion. Her vitals continued dropping, the purple blood loss creating a growing stain on the floor despite their efforts to stop the bleeding. "Starting the transfusion now," Sarah announced. Marcus watched his blood flow through the tubes into the alien woman's body. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her skin began to change, the pale blue deepening to a healthier shade. The strange shimmer returned to her hair. "Her vitals are stabilizing," Dr. Patel said, amazement in his voice. "Heart rate dropping to what might be normal for her. Blood pressure rising." But something else was happening. As Marcus's blood entered her system, the alien woman's wounds began closing. Not healing like human wounds, slowly over days, but actually sealing themselves as they watched. "This is impossible," Dr. Patel whispered. Marcus felt dizzy from the blood loss, but he couldn't look away. The alien woman's eyes fluttered open, those violet galaxies focusing first on the ceiling, then moving around the room until they found his face. She tried to speak, but only managed a sound like wind through crystal chimes. Marcus found himself leaning closer, drawn by something he couldn't explain. "Easy," he said softly. "You're safe. You were injured, but you're going to be okay." The alien woman's hand moved slowly toward his, and when their skin touched, Marcus felt something electric pass between them. Images flashed through his mind, not his memories, but hers. A vast ship among the stars, beings that looked like her but with hostile intent, running, hiding, being hunted. She was a refugee. The connection lasted only seconds before she pulled her hand away, her eyes wide with what looked like shock. She tried to sit up, moving with surprising grace despite her recent injuries. "Wait," Marcus said. "You need to rest. The wounds may have closed, but your body needs time to recover." She studied him intently, then reached out to touch the IV line connected to his arm. Her expression changed to something Marcus couldn't read. Surprise, perhaps, or recognition. Dr. Patel approached cautiously. "Can you understand us?" The alien woman tilted her head, listening. Then she pressed her hand to her throat and spoke in that chime-like language. After a moment, she tried again. And this time the sounds were almost human. "You gave blood," she managed, her voice like music played on crystal instruments. "Yes," Marcus said. "You were dying." She looked at him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "Human blood. Into Kalian body. Kalian? Is that what you are?" She nodded slowly. "I am Zarathes of the Kalian Wanderers." She struggled with the human words. "You are?" "Dr. Marcus Chen." "Dr. Marcus Chen," she repeated, and somehow made his name sound like a song. "You saved Zarathes. It's what I do. Save people." Something shifted in her expression, a recognition that seemed to go beyond gratitude. She looked at the empty blood bag, then back at Marcus. "Human blood in Kalian body is significant." "Significant how?" But before she could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the hospital. Not medical alarms, security alarms. Through the trauma bay window, Marcus could see lights in the sky, moving with purpose and intelligence. Zarathes tried to stand, moving faster than should have been possible for someone who'd been dying an hour before. "They found me." "Who found you?" "The Dominion hunters." Her violet eyes filled with fear. "They cannot know about Blood Bond. Cannot know what we have done." "Blood Bond?" But there was no time for explanations. The lights outside grew brighter, and Marcus could hear a low humming sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I must go," Zarathes said. "But Dr. Marcus Chen—" She paused, placing her hand over her heart, in what seemed like a formal gesture. "Zarathes will not forget. Blood calls to blood. Life calls to life." "What does that mean?" She was already moving toward the window, her injuries apparently forgotten. With impossible grace, she touched the glass, and it simply opened, as if it were liquid rather than solid. "Wait!" Marcus called, but she was already gone, disappearing into the night sky toward the alien lights. The humming grew louder, then gradually faded. The lights moved away from the hospital and vanished into the distance. Within minutes, it was as if nothing had happened, except for the purple bloodstains on the floor and the strange, empty feeling in Marcus's chest. Dr. Patel stood beside him at the window. "What just happened?" Marcus touched his arm where the IV had been. He felt different somehow, though he couldn't say how. "I think I just learned that the universe is bigger than we imagined," Should we report this? Marcus considered. Government officials would want to study Zarathes, perhaps capture her for research. The thought made him uncomfortable. She was a patient. Patient confidentiality applies to everyone, doesn't it? Dr. Patel nodded slowly. Everyone. They agreed to keep the incident quiet, logging it as an unusual trauma case with an unidentified patient who left against medical advice. But Marcus couldn't stop thinking about Zarathes's words. Blood calls to blood. Life calls to life. Over the following days, Marcus tried to return to his normal routine, but something had changed. He felt more alert, more aware of things around him. Colors seemed brighter. He could hear conversations from across the hospital that should have been too quiet to notice. More strangely, he found himself dreaming of stars. Not just any stars, but specific constellations he'd never seen before. In these dreams, he was flying through space, seeing worlds that couldn't exist, but felt completely real. A week after the incident, Marcus was finishing his shift when Nurse Sarah approached him with a puzzled expression. Dr. Chen, there's something weird with your latest blood work. What kind of weird? Well, you know how we ran tests after your blood donation last week? The results just came back, and there are some unusual markers. Nothing dangerous, she added quickly, but definitely not normal human baselines. Marcus felt a chill. What kind of markers? Increased cellular regeneration rates, enhanced immune responses, and Dr. Chen, your DNA shows some modifications. Very minor, but definitely there. Marcus stared at the test results. Whatever had happened when his blood mixed with Zarathes's, it had changed him at the most fundamental level. That night, he stood on his apartment balcony looking up at the stars, wondering if somewhere among them, Zarathes was looking back. He touched his chest where that empty feeling persisted, and for the first time, he began to understand that his act of compassion had consequences he couldn't have imagined. Blood calls to blood, she had said. Life calls to life. Marcus had a feeling he was about to learn exactly what that meant. 2 months passed without any sign of Zarathes or the alien hunters. Marcus continued working at the hospital, but the changes in his body became more pronounced. He no longer needed as much sleep. His reflexes had improved dramatically. Most remarkably, he seemed to have developed an intuitive understanding of alien physiology. When a second alien refugee arrived at the hospital, a different species with gray skin and multiple arms, Marcus knew exactly how to treat injuries that should have been completely foreign to human medicine. It was as if the knowledge was already in his head, waiting to be accessed. Dr. Patel noticed the changes, too. You're different, Marcus. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something... Something what? Something more about you. Marcus didn't know how to respond. He felt more himself than ever, but also like he was becoming something new. The dreams of stars grew more vivid, and sometimes he woke with the certainty that they weren't dreams at all, but memories that belonged to someone else. Or perhaps, he thought as he looked up at the night sky, memories that now belonged to them both. The blood bond, whatever it was, had connected him to Zarathes in ways he was only beginning to understand. And deep in his heart, Marcus knew this was only the beginning of a story that would take him far beyond anything he could have imagined. He just didn't know that Zarathes was already on her way back to him, carrying news that would change both their lives forever. 6 months had passed since the night that changed Marcus's life. The alien refugees had stopped coming to New Geneva Medical Center, and Marcus had begun to wonder if he'd imagined the whole thing. But the changes in his body were real enough, the enhanced senses, the intuitive medical knowledge, and most of all, the dreams that felt more like memories with each passing night. It was during one of these dreams that Marcus first felt her presence returning. He was dreaming of a vast nebula, swirling with colors that had no names in human language, when suddenly he wasn't alone in the cosmic vista. Zarathus stood beside him, but she looked different. Her pale blue skin glowed with an inner radiance, and her liquid mercury hair seemed to move with a life of its own. "Dr. Marcus Chen," she said in that musical voice he remembered so well. "Zarathus? But this is just a dream." She turned those violet galaxy eyes to him, and Marcus saw something he hadn't noticed before, a deep sadness mixed with hope. "Not dream. Blood bond allows sharing of consciousness across vast distances. You dream of stars, because part of me dreams with you." "I don't understand." "Soon you will. I am returning to you, Marcus Chen. The blood we shared created something that must be completed." Marcus woke with her words echoing in his mind, more certain than ever that what he'd experienced wasn't a dream. 3 days later, his certainty was confirmed when the sensors at the hospital's emergency entrance detected an unusual energy signature at exactly 3:47 a.m., the same time Zarathus had first arrived. Marcus was already waiting when she materialized outside the building, but this time she wasn't injured and bleeding. She stood tall and graceful, wearing robes that seemed to be cut from starlight itself. Her skin held that same inner glow he'd seen in the dream, and when she saw him through the glass doors, she smiled, an expression both beautiful and heartbreaking. "You knew I would come," she said as he opened the door for her. "The dreams have been getting stronger." She nodded. "The blood bond grows deeper with time. Soon we will share more than dreams." Marcus led her to a quiet consultation room, away from the curious stares of the night staff. "You said something had to be completed. What did you mean?" Zarathus sat gracefully, her hands folded in her lap. "Among my people, the sharing of blood is sacred. It creates bonds that transcend individual existence. When you gave me your blood to save my life, you began a process that cannot be undone." "What kind of process?" She was quiet for a long moment, and Marcus could see her struggling with how to explain something that had no human equivalent. "In human terms, you would call it marriage, but it is deeper than your concept allows. The blood bond makes two beings into aspects of a single soul." Marcus felt that strange emptiness in his chest shift, as if something was finally clicking into place. "Is that why I feel different? Why I've been changing?" "Yes. You carry part of me now, as I carry part of you. But Marcus Chen, there is something more." She looked up at him with those galactic eyes, and he saw both joy and fear there. The blood bond, when it forms between different species, sometimes creates new life. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. "New life? You mean—" "I carry a child," Zarathus said simply. "Our child. Born from the mingling of human and Kalian essence in ways my people's science cannot fully explain." Marcus sank into a chair, his mind reeling. "But we didn't—" "Physical union is not required when souls are bonded," she explained gently. "The sharing of life essence through blood created conditions for conception that transcend biology as either of our species understands it." "A child," Marcus repeated, trying to process the impossibility of it. "Half human, half Kalian." "More than half of each," Zarathus corrected. "The child will carry the full genetic heritage of both species, enhanced by the bond that created it. Such children are prophesied in the oldest Kalian texts, but none have been born for thousands of years." Marcus looked at her more closely and realized what he'd missed before. There was a subtle change in her posture, a protective way she held herself. "How long?" "3 of your months. In Kalian terms, the child has passed through the first dreaming and entered the second growth." She touched her abdomen gently. "She dreams of both our worlds." "She?" "The child's mind touches mine in sleep. She is aware even now. And Marcus Chen? Zarathes smiled, and for the first time it reached her eyes. She has your curiosity and your courage. Marcus felt overwhelmed. He was going to be a father to a child that shouldn't be able to exist, with a woman who wasn't quite a woman and wasn't quite human. The rational part of his mind insisted this was impossible, but the part of him that had been changed by the blood bond accepted it as naturally as breathing. "What does this mean for us?" he asked. "For her." Zarathes's expression grew serious. "That is why I have returned. The child cannot be born among the Kalian wanderers. My people would see her as an abomination, a corruption of our pure bloodlines. And the Dominion hunters—" She shuddered. "If they discovered her existence, they would stop at nothing to capture or destroy her. But she could be born here, on Earth? Perhaps, but there are complications." Zarathes stood and began pacing, her liquid hair flowing behind her like a silver river. Hybrid children require unique conditions for birth. They must be born in a place where both parent species can survive, where the life energies of both worlds can merge. Marcus thought about what she was saying. Earth isn't exactly set up for alien life support. No, but you have changed, Marcus Chen. The blood bond has made you partially Kalian. Your medical facility, touched by your transformed essence, might be able to provide what we need. You want to give birth in the hospital? I want our daughter to be born in the place where we first bonded, where your compassion saved not just my life, but created the possibility for new life. She stopped pacing and looked directly at him. But I cannot do this alone. The birth of a hybrid child requires both parents to be present, their life forces intertwined throughout the process. Marcus stood up, moving closer to her. What are you asking? I am asking you to complete what we began, to accept the full blood bond, to become my true partner in ways that will change you permanently. Her voice grew soft. I am asking if you will help me bring our daughter into existence. Marcus reached out and took her hands. They were warm and soft, but he could feel the alien energy flowing beneath her skin. Zarathes, 6 months ago I was a simple trauma surgeon. Now you're telling me I'm going to father a child that represents a new species. Yes. And completing this bond will change me in ways I can't predict. Yes. I might not be fully human anymore. You are already not fully human, she said gently. You have been becoming something new since the night you saved my life. The question is whether you will embrace what you are becoming. Marcus thought about the past 6 months, the dreams of stars, the enhanced abilities, the growing feeling that he was meant for something greater than treating broken bones and heart attacks. He looked into Zarathes's violet eyes and saw not just his alien partner, but the future of what they could build together. What do I need to do? Relief flooded her features. The full blood bond requires a conscious exchange. We must share our life essence willingly, completely, holding nothing back. Like a transfusion? More intimate. We must touch blood to blood while our minds are open to each other. You will experience my memories, my thoughts, my very soul, and I will experience yours. Marcus nodded slowly. When? Soon. The child grows quickly, and the conditions for her birth become more specific as she develops. Within days, I will need to begin the preparation rituals. Where will you stay until then? Zarathes smiled. I had hoped with you. Marcus realized that despite all the impossibilities of the situation, he wanted nothing more than to have her close. My apartment isn't exactly set up for alien guests. I need little, just a place to rest and meditate as the child grows. Over the next 3 days, Marcus experienced what it meant to live with a Kalian. Zarathes ate very little, sustaining herself primarily through meditation that seemed to draw energy from sources Marcus couldn't identify. She slept only a few hours each night, spending most of her time in deep communion with the unborn child. Marcus found himself changing more rapidly during these days. His connection to Zarathus, strengthened by proximity, accelerated the transformation the blood bond had begun. He began to understand fragments of the Kalian language. His medical intuition expanded beyond human physiology to encompass species he'd never encountered. Most remarkably, he began to sense the child. It started as a whisper of awareness at the edge of his consciousness. Then, during a quiet evening, as he and Zarathus sat together, he suddenly felt a small, curious mind touch his own. "She's reaching out," Zarathus said softly, noticing his reaction. Marcus closed his eyes and tried to focus on the sensation. It was like being gently examined by an intelligence both ancient and brand new. The child's mind felt familiar. She had inherited his analytical nature, but also utterly alien in ways that stretched his understanding. "Hello, little one," he thought, directing the words toward the presence he felt. The response came not in words but in emotions, curiosity, warmth, and something that might have been recognition. "She knows you," Zarathus whispered. "She has been waiting to meet her father." Marcus felt tears on his cheeks. In 3 days, he had gone from being a bachelor surgeon to preparing for a daughter who would represent an entirely new form of life. The magnitude of it should have been terrifying, but instead, he felt a peace he'd never experienced. "I'm ready," he told Zarathus, "for the full bond, for whatever changes it brings. Our daughter deserves parents who are completely committed to her existence." Zarathus leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. "Then tomorrow we complete what we began, and soon after, we welcome the first human Kalian child into the universe." Marcus held her close. Feeling the alien warmth of her body and the impossible reality of the life growing within her. Tomorrow would bring changes he couldn't imagine. But tonight, for the first time since that strange night 6 months ago, he felt complete. The blood bond had begun with an act of compassion. Tomorrow, it would become something that would reshape the future for both their species. The ritual took place in the same trauma bay where Marcus had first saved Zarathus's life. They had waited until the hospital's quietest hours, when only essential staff remained on duty. Dr. Patel and Nurse Sarah assisted, having been brought into the secret when it became clear that the birth would require medical support beyond anything in textbooks. "Are you certain about this?" Dr. Patel asked for the 3rd time as they prepared the room. "Once you complete the full blood bond, there's no going back. You'll be fundamentally changed." Marcus looked at Zarathus, who sat meditating in the center of the room. Her pregnancy had become more visible in recent days, but not in the way human pregnancies developed. Instead of a rounded belly, her entire body seemed to glow with an inner light that pulsed in rhythm with an alien heartbeat. "I've been changing since the first night," Marcus replied. "This is just completing a process that already began." Zarathus opened her violet eyes. "It is time. The child grows restless. She knows her birth approaches." They had prepared carefully. Ancient Kalian texts, translated through the blood bond's growing connection, described the requirements for a hybrid birth. The room needed to be saturated with the life essence of both parent species. Marcus had spent hours each day meditating in the space, allowing his transformed energy to permeate the walls. Zarathus had done the same with her alien vitality. Now the air itself seemed alive, shimmering with barely visible energies that made the heart monitors behave erratically and caused the lights to flicker in patterns that almost resembled heartbeats. "The blood bond first," Zarathus said, rising gracefully. "Then we await our daughter's choosing of when to emerge." Marcus had thought he understood what the full blood bond would entail, But as Zarathes approached him with a ceremonial blade made of crystallized starlight, he realized he had underestimated everything. "This blade was blessed by the first Kalian healers," she explained. "It will cut without causing harm, allowing our life essence to mingle while preserving the sacred nature of the exchange." The cut on Marcus's palm barely stung, but immediately his blood began to glow with the same inner light that had appeared in Zarathes months ago. When she cut her own palm, her purple blood seemed to reach toward his with a will of its own. "Think of nothing but openness," she instructed as they pressed their bleeding palms together. "Allow me to see all of who you are, as I will show you all of me." The moment their blood touched, Marcus's world exploded into experiences that weren't his own. He was flying between stars and ships made of living crystal. He felt the ancient sadness of a people driven from their homeworld by conquerors who saw difference as disease. He experienced the loneliness of centuries of wandering, searching for a place where the Kalian could rebuild their civilization. But through Zarathes's memories, he also felt her first glimpse of Earth, a blue-green world where a young species was learning to reach toward the stars with hope rather than conquest. He felt her wonder at human diversity, the way humans could be different from each other, yet still form bonds of love and loyalty. And he felt her shock and growing affection as a human doctor risked his own life to save hers, asking nothing in return except the satisfaction of preserving life. In return, Marcus shared everything he was. His childhood in California, where his immigrant parents had sacrificed everything to give him opportunities they'd never had. His decision to become a doctor after watching his grandmother die in a hospital where no one spoke her language. His dedication to healing, his belief that every life had value regardless of species, race, or origin. He shared his loneliness too, the way his dedication to medicine had left him isolated, always caring for others but never allowing anyone to care for him, and his wonder at discovering that the universe was so much larger and more beautiful than he'd ever imagined. As their memories mingled, their blood began to change both of them at the cellular level. Marcus felt his DNA rewriting itself, incorporating not just Kalian genetics, but something entirely new, a hybrid genetic pattern that had never existed before. The pain was intense but brief. When it ended, Marcus opened eyes that now held flecks of violet among the brown. Zarathes's skin had gained a subtle warmth, a hint of human pink beneath the alien blue. "It is done," she said, but her voice now carried harmonics that hadn't been there before, something that was part human speech, part Kalian music. "We are bonded completely." Marcus felt it immediately. The emptiness that had plagued him since their first meeting was gone, replaced by a completeness that went beyond anything he'd experienced. He could feel Zarathes's thoughts at the edge of his awareness, just as she could sense his. More importantly, he could feel their daughter's presence more clearly than ever. The child's awareness had grown stronger during the bonding ritual, and now she seemed to be taking stock of her parents' transformation. "She's satisfied," Zarathes said with a smile. "She approves of what we have become." Over the following week, the changes in both parents accelerated. Marcus found he no longer needed to sleep more than an hour or two each night. His understanding of alien medicine expanded to encompass dozens of species he'd never encountered. Most remarkably, he began to perceive energy patterns that were invisible to normal human senses. Zarathes, meanwhile, developed an intuitive understanding of human emotion and psychology that allowed her to connect with the hospital staff in ways that surprised everyone. She spent hours talking with patients, offering comfort that transcended language barriers. "She's becoming more human," Dr. Patel observed, "just as you're becoming more alien." "Not more alien," Marcus corrected. "More complete." The birth began on a night when Earth's moon aligned with a Calian constellation that was only visible through the blood bond connection. Marcus felt it starting as a gentle pressure in his mind, a sense that their daughter was ready to transition from the dream of existence to physical reality. "It begins," Zarathes said, though she showed no signs of physical distress. Calian births, Marcus had learned, were as much mental and spiritual as physical. They returned to the prepared trauma bay, where the air now pulsed with accumulated life energy. Dr. Patel and Nurse Sarah stood ready, though all of them knew they were about to witness something beyond conventional medicine. The first sign was the light. Zarathes's entire body began to glow with an intensity that should have been blinding, but somehow felt gentle and warm. The light grew brighter as she entered a deep meditative state, her consciousness merging with that of the unborn child. Marcus felt the moment when his daughter made her first independent decision, the choice to be born. The sensation was like sunrise after a long night, a burst of joy and determination that filled the room with almost tangible happiness. "She comes," Zarathes whispered, and Marcus saw that tears of liquid light were flowing down her cheeks. The birth itself defied every law of biology Marcus knew. Instead of the struggle of human birth, their daughter seemed to flow from the realm of potential into physical existence. One moment she was a presence felt but not seen. The next, she lay in her mother's arms, perfect and impossible. She was beautiful in ways that went beyond human or Calian aesthetics. Her skin held the warmth of human flesh, but with an underlying luminescence that spoke of alien heritage. Her hair was dark like Marcus's, but moved with the liquid grace of her mother's. And her eyes held the depth of human emotion and the cosmic vastness of Calian perception. But most remarkably, she was awake and aware from her first moment of independent existence. Those impossible eyes focused first on Zarathes, then turned to study Marcus with an intelligence that was clearly already contemplating the world around her. "Hello, little star," Marcus whispered, touching her tiny hand. She grasped his finger with surprising strength, and the moment their skin touched, Marcus heard her first clear thought. Father. Not in English or Calian, but in pure concept that his transformed mind could interpret perfectly. "She will need a name that honors both our peoples," Zarathes said. Marcus studied his daughter's face, seeing his own determination reflected there alongside Zarathes's wisdom. "Stellathes," he said, "starlight in both languages." The baby's response was a sound that was part human laugh, part Calian chime. Approval, clearly. Over the following days, they learned just how remarkable their daughter was. Stellathes developed at an accelerated rate, but not just physically. Her mind grew stronger each day, and within a week she was communicating complex emotions and simple concepts through the blood bond connection. More importantly, she seemed to be a bridge between species in ways none of them had anticipated. When other alien refugees arrived at the hospital, word had somehow spread that it was a safe place. Stellathes could communicate with them regardless of their origin. She carried genetic memories from dozens of species that the blood bond had somehow incorporated into her developing consciousness. "She's not just half human and half Calian," Dr. Patel observed as they watched Stellathes interact with a wounded Centauri trader. "She's something entirely new." Marcus held his daughter while she gurgled happily at the alien trader's strange language, somehow understanding meanings that escaped even his enhanced capabilities. "She's what happens when species choose cooperation over conquest." 3 weeks after Stellathes' birth, they received unexpected visitors. The same lights that had appeared in the sky the night Marcus first met Zarathes returned, but this time they landed peacefully in the hospital courtyard. The beings who emerged were Calian, but different from Zarathes. These were elders, ancient even by the standards of a long-lived species. They moved with the dignity of those who had seen civilizations rise and fall among the stars. "We have come to see the child of prophecy," their leader announced in perfect English, though his violet eyes were fixed on Stellathes. "Prophecy?" Marcus asked. "The oldest Kalian texts speak of a bridge child who would unite the wandering peoples with a young species destined for greatness," the elder explained. "A child born of blood shared in compassion, who would carry the wisdom of ages and the hope of youth." He approached Stellathes carefully, and she studied him with the same intense curiosity she showed everything. When he extended one finger toward her, she grasped it just as she had her father's, and Marcus saw the elder's eyes widen. "She carries the memories of the first Kalian explorers," he breathed, "but also something new, something that could reshape how all species interact." "What does that mean?" Zarathes asked. "It means, young mother, that your daughter may be the key to ending the great conflicts that have divided the galaxy for millennia. She is proof that different species can create something greater together than either could achieve alone." Marcus looked around the room, at the Kalian elders, at his human colleagues who had accepted the impossible with remarkable grace, at his alien partner who had become more precious to him than his own life, and at his daughter who represented hope for a future none of them could fully imagine. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now," the elder said, "we learn. Your daughter will need teachers from many worlds to fulfill her potential. But she will also need the foundation you have given her, the understanding that compassion transcends species, that healing is the highest calling, and that love can literally create new forms of life." As if responding to the elder's words, Stellathes made the musical sound that was her version of laughter. In that moment, Marcus understood that his simple act of donating blood to save a dying alien had been the first step in a journey that would span stars and generations. He had given blood to save one life. In return, he had gained a family and helped create a being who might one day save countless others. It was, Marcus reflected, exactly the kind of trade a doctor would make. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of humor about healing. Years later, when Marcus was known throughout the galaxy as the human who had helped birth the first bridge child, he would still remember that moment in the trauma bay when everything changed. It had started with the simplest decision a healer could make: to preserve life regardless of the cost. It had ended with the creation of something that would change the nature of life itself. Stellathes grew up to become exactly what the prophecies had foretold: a bridge between species, a healer whose very existence proved that cooperation was stronger than conquest. And Marcus Chen, the trauma surgeon who had once thought his world was limited to one small hospital on one small planet, became the father to a new age of interstellar peace, all because he had been willing to donate his blood to rescue a dying alien. And she had come back to carry his child, a child who would carry the hopes of countless worlds among the stars.